CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. The Alberta Court of Appeal has overturned a murder conviction against a Lethbridge man. Bradley Francis Gray is currently serving a life sentence for second-degree murder. Kayla Carr reports.
In November 2009, a jury found 30-year-old Bradley Francis Gray guilty on charges of second-degree murder and aggravated assault in connection with a vicious attack on two men. Gray was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 10 years. 2 years ago, his lawyer filed a notice to appeal the conviction and won. The murder conviction was dropped, and Gray will now be sentenced for manslaughter.
We hope in this particular case, as we do in every case, to get a fit and proper sentence from the court. And so on the basis of the charge that's before the court, that's what we intend upon doing, is asking for a fit and proper sentence.
The Court of Appeal ruling says that the trial judge failed to properly instruct the jury on the difference between manslaughter and murder. And because that instruction was not properly given, the appeal judges ruled the murder conviction cannot stand.
Although we didn't agree that the trial judge erred in this particular case, one of the options for the Court of Appeal was to substitute a verdict of manslaughter.
During the trial, court heard that on the day of the attack, Gray had expressed anger and frustration with natives and crime in his neighborhood. One witness testified he saw Gray run across the street and attack two Aboriginals for no reason. George Many Shots later died of injuries to his liver and spleen. His brother-in-law, Percy Pantherbone, received serious head and wrist injuries. Gray has served over 2 years in jail. He'll now be brought back before the court to be sentenced for manslaughter.
Theoretically, manslaughter can range in sentence anywhere from a suspended sentence and probation to life imprisonment. And it's a sentence, sentencing in the area of manslaughter is very fact-specific.
The Crown does have the option to appeal the decision. Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
A date hasn't been set for Gray's sentencing. We have made attempts to contact the victim's family but have been unable to reach them. Meanwhile, sentencing for a Lethbridge man who pleaded guilty to manslaughter has been set over until April. Police found the body of 47-year-old Christopher James Ballandine in a North Lethbridge home last October. Officers say he had been beaten to death with a 2x4. 52-year-old Terry Bissonnette was to be sentenced today for manslaughter. However, a pre-sentence report isn't complete. Bissonnette will be back in court April 5th for sentencing. 53-year-old Kerry Zeller is charged with second-degree murder in the death, and his case is still before the courts. Well, less than a week after a rally to raise awareness about pedestrian safety in Lethbridge, another pedestrian has been hit. A 13-year-old girl is in hospital with serious injuries. She was in a crosswalk at 12th Avenue South and Mayor McGrath Drive when she was hit this morning. 18-year-old Lauren Lynn Hart from Tabor has been charged with failing to yield to a pedestrian. And a tragic story is unveiling in Airdrie. A 2-day-old baby has died after being attacked by the family dog. Police say the family's husky attacked a newborn boy yesterday morning. The infant was rushed to the Children's Hospital in Calgary and sadly died from his injuries around 10:30 last night. Investigators say the dog had no history of aggressive behavior. The husky is now in quarantine. The family and bylaw officers will be deciding his fate. Dory Rossiter is here with our first look at the forecast and a fair bit of sunshine over the next few days, Dory. And those temperatures aren't that bad either.
Yeah, not bad at all, Jackie. We are going to see a little bit of drift-off cloud tonight from a system, two systems actually, that are trying to make their way across BC. So we'll get a cloud drift-off from that. But you're right, area of high pressure is going to keep us protected and sunny for the next few days. I'll tell you all about it in just a couple of minutes.
We like how that sounds. Thanks, Dory. Well, about 2,000 healthcare workers across Alberta launched a wildcat strike today as frustrations mounted over a contract dispute with Alberta Health Services. Among those who walked off the job were employees at Claresholm Health Centre and maintenance staff at the Chinook Regional Hospital. The spontaneous walkout coincided with information pickets that were set up at half a dozen hospitals across the province today. In Lethbridge, healthcare workers from across southern Alberta gathered outside the Chinook Regional Hospital over the lunch hour. They carried picket signs and chanted for fairness. Some of the workers refused to go back to their jobs, while others walked out in a show of support. The union says many employees consider the latest contract offers by Alberta Health Services to be insulting.
Things need to be done in a reasonable and fair manner. I know doctors have been offered zero, but at the same time, nurses and managers are getting their increases. So, I'm not sure how the system works that we're going to hive off and separate it out so that 2/3 of the people who work in healthcare are the have-nots and the other third are the haves. And I'm not sure that we're going to have a system that's going to work very well in that circumstance.
Alberta Health Services issued a statement this afternoon, and they say that they are taking every precaution to ensure patient safety and care. They say contingency plans are in place and management is prepared to deliver services like meal delivery, portering, and room cleaning. Now, staff at a Lethbridge continuing care facility have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike if they don't get a better contract offer from their employer. Workers at the Edith Cavell Care Centre have voted 93% in favor of strike action. The 120 workers are represented by the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees. The care centre is owned by Chantel Management Limited. Union officials say that they're hoping the one-sided result will motivate the employer to go back to the bargaining table and present a collective agreement comparable to what's being provided to others in the region.
So what's going to happen now is the ball's in the employer's court. Obviously, they now know what the outcome of the vote is, and I mean, we're hoping we don't want to disrupt services, but the employer has the option to come back to the bargaining table, and we're hoping they'll do that.
Workers could walk off the job 72 hours after serving strike notice, but union representatives say they will give the employer time to respond. No job action is planned before the long weekend. And waiting for the emergency room in Lethbridge is a bit less painful than other parts of the province. Chinook Regional Hospital staff say 85 to 90% of patients are addressed, treated, and admitted within 8 hours of arriving. That well exceeds targets the province set last year. Most Alberta hospitals fall short of target wait times. In fact, 17% of emergency rooms have seen an increase in total visits. Chinook Regional Hospital staff say they face challenges as well, but began planning earlier. In the 90s, the hospital started introducing more beds for seniors to help free up ER beds more quickly. Well, Lethbridge now has a candidate to face MLA Bridget Pasteur in the upcoming provincial election. Rob Miyashiro was selected as the Alberta Liberal candidate for Lethbridge East last night. Nearly 250 people showed up to the nomination meeting to cast their ballot. Miyashiro says he wants to make sure Lethbridge East is red again.
The hard long-term work starts, right? Then you have to hit the road, and you have to go and see people and talk to every door in the constituency and go to meetings and go visit people in their homes. So it's just a different kind of work than this has been, but it'll be exciting, I think.
Miyashiro beat Jeff Carlson to win the Liberal candidacy for Lethbridge East. The man who spearheaded efforts to save the southern Alberta sugar beet industry has died at the age of 74. Walter F. Boras was cast into the spotlight in the mid-1980s as southern Alberta sugar beet farmers battled to keep the industry alive. At the time, growers established their own marketing board, and Boras helped to rally support from community and business leaders. He also led several delegations to Ottawa to generate assistance from the federal government. Boras passed away yesterday at the Edith Cavell Care Centre. A funeral mass is scheduled for Saturday morning at Assumption Catholic Church. Well, in May of 2010, her convoy was attacked by a suicide bomber in Afghanistan, killing 6 soldiers and 12 civilians. Despite her injuries, Melissa Whitegrass managed to maneuver her vehicle to safety and provide security until the threat had ended. Last night, Brigadier General Paul Berry presented Master Corporal Whitegrass with the Chief of the Defence Staff Commendation. The CDS Commendation is awarded to members of the Canadian Forces who perform a deed or activity beyond the demands of normal duty. Whitegrass says she hopes the award shines a spotlight on the hard work and high caliber soldiers being trained right here in Lethbridge.
Everything that I try and everything that I do, I've always gave 110%. I'm not exactly the strongest or the fastest or the biggest, but I just think it was a lot of heart and stuff, and this is just a bonus because I always had my self-satisfaction because I gave my all.
Whitegrass says she hopes she's able to return to active duty, but is still currently on medical leave. The markets today, Loonie rallied back and closed the day on an up note. Here are the closing numbers.